The first light of morning comes quietly, almost unnoticed at first, as if the world itself is still deciding whether it is ready to awaken. I find myself standing at the edge of a small medieval village, wrapped in that gentle moment between night and day, where everything feels softened, hushed, and still. The air is cool, carrying a faint trace of damp earth and old wood. It settles gently on the skin, not cold, but fresh, like a slow breath taken after a long rest. Above, the sky is a pale shade of gray-blue, slowly brightening, though the sun has not yet fully revealed itself. There is no sharpness to the light here, only a gradual unfolding. The village sleeps. The narrow dirt paths that weave between the cottages lie undisturbed. No footsteps press into the soil, no cartwheels carve their lines. Everything remains as it was left the night before. A thin mist lingers low to the ground, drifting softly between fences and doorways, blurring edges, softening shapes. The houses themselves seem to rest, their wooden beams and thatched roofs holding on to the quiet of the night. Some doors are slightly uneven, some windows small and shuttered, but all are closed, holding within them the warmth of sleeping families. There's a sense of protection in this stillness, as though the village gently shelters its people from the outside world. I walk slowly along one of the narrow paths, careful not to disturb the silence, though there is no one here to notice. My steps feel softer somehow, as if even the ground understands this moment and asks to remain undisturbed. From somewhere nearby, I hear the faintest sound, a soft creak of wood, perhaps a sign hanging from a beam, gently moving in the light morning air. It sways slowly, almost lazily, producing a quiet rhythm that blends into the stillness rather than breaking it. A small garden sits beside one of the cottages, its outline barely visible through the mist. Rows of simple plants rest quietly, leaves holding tiny beads of dew that catch the first hints of light. Each droplet clings gently, unmoving, as if time itself has slowed to allow the morning to arrive at its own pace. There is a smell here, subtle but present, a mix of damp soil, straw, and faint traces of yesterday's firewood. It is not strong, not overwhelming, just enough to remind me that life here is close to the earth, shaped by simple routines and familiar rhythms. No voices yet, no movement from within the homes, only the quiet breathing of the village itself. In the distance, I notice the outline of a well at the center of the village. Its wooden frame stands still, the rope hanging loosely, untouched. The bucket rests against the stone edge, waiting patiently for the hands that will soon lift it, lower it, fill it. But for now, it remains as it is, part of the stillness. A faint breeze passes through, gentle and slow. It moves the tops of the grasses, brushes lightly against the thatch roofs, and slips between the narrow gaps of wooden walls. It carries no urgency, no purpose beyond simply being present. Somewhere further off, beyond the last row of cottages, there is the quiet outline of open fields. I can just make them out through the thinning mist. The land stretches outward, calm and undisturbed, waiting for the day's work that has not yet begun. And still, the village sleeps. There's a kind of comfort in this moment, in knowing that nothing is required yet. No tasks have started, no voices have called, no tools have been lifted. Time feels wider here, slower, as though the day has not yet decided its shape. I pause near a low wooden fence, resting my hand lightly against its surface. The wood is cool and slightly rough beneath my fingers, worn by years of use, by seasons passing quietly one after another. It does not feel old in a fragile way, but in a steady, enduring way. From one of the cottages, there is the faintest suggestion of life, a subtle shift, perhaps someone turning in their sleep, or the quiet settling of the structure itself. It is barely noticeable, and then it is gone again, absorbed back into the stillness. The light grows just a little stronger now, not enough to chase away the shadows, but enough to soften them, to reveal the gentle shapes of the village more clearly. The outlines of doors, windows, fences, all becoming slowly defined, as if drawn. This is the hour before the village awakens, a space of time that belongs only to stillness, to breath, to gentle presence. It does not last long, but it does not need to. It simply exists, quietly, without demand. The mist begins to lift, slowly rising from the ground, thinning as it drifts upward. The shapes of the paths become clearer now, the edges more defined. The village reveals itself piece by piece, though it does so without urgency. A wooden cart stands near one of the houses, its wheels resting slightly uneven on the ground. A few simple tools lie nearby, left where they were placed the evening before. Nothing has been moved, nothing disturbed. There is a sense here that everything has its place, not in a strict or ordered way, but in a natural, familiar way. Objects rest where they are needed, where they belong, without thought or effort. The sky continues to brighten. A faint warmth begins to touch the air, almost imperceptible at first. It does not replace the coolness, but gently blends with it, creating a quiet balance between night and day. I take a slow breath. The air feels clean, calm, untouched by noise or hurry. In this moment, the village is not defined by work or movement or voices. It is simply a place, resting, waiting, existing in a soft and peaceful pause. Soon there will be footsteps. Soon doors will open, fires will be stirred, voices will begin their quiet conversations. The rhythm of the day will slowly take shape, guided by familiar routines and simple needs. But not yet. For now, everything remains still, and I continue to walk, slowly and quietly, through the early morning silence, where each step feels softer than the last, and time itself seems to move just a little more gently. The quiet does not disappear all at once. It softens gently, as if the village is slowly remembering how to move again. I remain where I am for a moment longer, noticing how the stillness begins to shift, not into noise, but into something softer, something alive. From one of the cottages nearby, there is the faint sound of movement within. A floorboard gives a quiet, familiar creak. It is not sudden, not sharp, just a small sign that someone has risen, that the first moments of the day are beginning behind closed doors. The air feels slightly warmer now, though the coolness of the night still lingers in the shadows. The mist has almost lifted, leaving behind a gentle clarity. Shapes are easier to see, but the softness of the morning remains. I take a few slow steps forward, and as I do, a thin ribbon of smoke begins to rise from the chimney. It curls upward into the pale sky, moving slowly without urgency. It is the first fire of the morning being brought back to life. Inside, I imagine the careful movements, someone kneeling near the hearth, brushing aside the ash from the night before. The embers, still faintly glowing beneath the surface, are stirred gently. A small breath, a quiet movement of air, and the glow strengthens just a little. More wood is placed carefully on top, dry sticks at first, thin and light, then slightly thicker pieces. Nothing rushed, everything done with a kind of quiet familiarity, as if these motions have been repeated every morning for years, perhaps for generations. Soon, another chimney begins to breathe smoke, and then another. The village, which only moments ago seemed entirely still, now begins to show these small, steady signs of waking life. Each thread of smoke rises in its own slow pattern, drifting upward, blending softly into the morning sky. The smell of firewood reaches me gently. It is warm, dry, and comforting, a scent that feels steady and grounding. It mixes with the damp earth and the faint sweetness of straw, creating a quiet harmony that belongs only to places like this. A door opens somewhere behind me. The sound is soft, the wood moving slowly on its hinges. I turn slightly, not fully, just enough to notice a figure stepping out into the morning. Their movements are unhurried, their posture still carrying the softness of sleep. They pause for a moment at the doorway, taking in the air, the light, perhaps the same stillness I've been noticing. There is no rush to begin the day, only a quiet acknowledgement that it has arrived. They step forward, closing the door gently behind them. In their hands, a small wooden bucket. They walk toward the well at the center of the village, their steps steady, familiar. The path beneath their feet is still slightly damp, but firm. As they reach the well, they lift the rope, guiding the bucket downward. The sound is soft, a gentle creak of wood, the quiet unwinding of rope, the distant echo as the bucket meets the water below. It is a simple action, repeated every morning, yet it carries a calm rhythm of its own. I continue walking slowly, observing these early movements as they unfold. Another door opens, and then another, each one adding a small layer to the quiet life returning to the village. People step outside, some stretching slightly, some simply standing still for a moment before beginning their tasks. No one speaks loudly. Voices, if they appear at all, are low and soft, blending into the morning air rather than breaking it. Near one of the cottages, I notice a woman kneeling just outside her doorway. She arranges small pieces of wood into a neat bundle, preparing them for the fire inside. Her movements are careful, deliberate, each piece placed with quiet intention. Beside her, a small child stands, wrapped in a simple cloth. The child watches silently, not restless, not impatient, just present, observing the slow beginning of the day. From inside the cottage, a faint crackling begins to emerge. The fire has taken hold now, its warmth spreading gently through the small space within. The light from the rising sun begins to touch the edges of the rooftops. It is still soft, still pale, but warmer now. It reflects lightly off the thin trails of smoke, giving them a golden tint as they drift upward. I pass by a small enclosure where a few animals begin to stir. A quiet rustling, a soft shifting of hooves against the ground. They too are waking, though without urgency, without noise. Everything here follows the same gentle rhythm. Nothing is forced, nothing is hurried. At the well, the figure who arrived earlier lifts the bucket slowly, hand over hand, the rope moving steadily. Water glistens at the surface as it rises, catching the early light. The bucket is set down carefully, without spilling, without haste. They carry it back toward their home, steps measured and calm. In another part of the village, someone begins to sweep the ground just outside their doorway. The sound is soft, straw brushing lightly against the earth, creating a quiet, steady rhythm that blends into the morning. I pause again, noticing how these small routines connect with one another. The lighting of fires, the drawing of water, the quiet preparation of wood. Each action simple on its own, yet together forming the gentle beginning of the day. A faint warmth begins to spread more clearly now, not just in the air, but in the feeling of the place itself. The village is no longer resting. but it is not yet fully awake either. It exists in this peaceful in-between, where movement is slow and steady. The smell of something cooking begins to appear, very faint at first, perhaps a simple porridge or bread being warmed near the fire. It is not strong, not sharp, just a soft hint carried on the air. I continue to walk, my steps still slow, still quiet. A man passes by me, carrying a bundle of tools. He nods slightly, a simple acknowledgement, without breaking the calm of the moment. There's no need for more. The sun rises a little higher. Light begins to reach into the spaces between the cottages, touching the ground, the fences, the walls. Shadows shift slowly, stretching gently before retreating. The village becomes clearer now, more defined, yet still peaceful. The early morning silence has not disappeared, it has simply changed. It now holds the quiet sounds of life beginning, the soft crackle of fire, the gentle movement of people, the steady rhythm of simple tasks carried out with care. And I remain within it, walking slowly through these moments, where each action feels measured, each sound softened, and the day unfolds not with urgency, but with quiet, steady grace. The quiet rhythm of the morning continues to unfold, not breaking, but gently expanding as more of the village steps into the day. The fires are now steadily burning within the cottages, their warmth settling into the walls, into the simple wooden tables, into the hands that move slowly through familiar tasks. I find myself walking toward the edge of the village, where the narrow paths begin to open into wider stretches of land. The ground here feels slightly firmer, less worn by daily footsteps, yet still shaped by years of quiet passage. Ahead, the fields begin. They do not arrive suddenly, but rather reveal themselves gradually. Small patches at first, then wider rows, stretching outward in soft lines that follow the shape of the land. The soil is dark and calm, still holding the coolness of the night, yet touched now by the growing warmth of the morning light. The sun has risen just enough to rest gently over the fields, casting a soft golden tone across everything it touches. There are no harsh shadows here, only long, quiet stretches of light that move slowly across the ground. A few figures are already present. They move without haste, their steps steady, their posture relaxed. Each carries simple tools, a hoe resting lightly over a shoulder, a bundle of twine, a small wooden basket. Nothing heavy, nothing rushed. The work has begun, but it has not yet gathered momentum. I slow my pace as I walk along the edge, observing the quiet pattern of their movements. One man kneels beside a row of young plants, his hands moving carefully through the soil. He brushes away small stones, adjusts the earth around the base of each stem. His fingers move with familiarity, as if guided not by thought, but by memory. Nearby, another figure stands, gently pressing a wooden tool into the ground. The motion is slow and repeated. Lift, place, press, lift, place, press. There is no strain in it, no urgency, only a steady rhythm that matches the pace of the morning. The sound of the work is soft, the quiet contact of wood against soil, the faint shifting of earth, a distant rustle as the breeze passes through the edges of the field. None of it disturbs the calm. It becomes part of it. I continue walking, feeling the space open around me. The village now rests behind, still present, but quieter, more distant. Out here, the air feels wider, carrying fewer sounds, fewer signs of movement, yet holding a quiet sense of purpose. A pair of oxen stands at the far end of the field, their presence calm and grounded. They do not move quickly, nor do they seem restless. One lowers its head slightly, breathing slowly, its body still wrapped in the softness of the early hour. Beside them, a man adjusts the wooden plow. He checks the bindings, runs his hand along the smooth, worn surface. These are small, careful motions, the kind that come from long familiarity rather than instruction. When he begins to guide the plow forward, it is done gently. The earth opens in narrow lines behind him, turning slowly, revealing the darker soil beneath. There's a quiet consistency in the movement, a steady pull, a soft resistance from the ground that gives way without force. I pause for a moment, watching the line of freshly turned earth stretch gradually across the field. It is not perfectly straight, nor does it need to be. It follows the natural shape of the land, the quiet guidance of experience. Further along, I notice a small group working together. They do not speak much. Occasionally, a few quiet words pass between them, but mostly they move in a shared rhythm. One gathers, another places, another adjusts, each action connected, yet carried out independently. A wooden basket is set down, filled with simple tools and small bundles. A hand reaches in, takes what is needed, then returns it gently. Nothing is dropped, nothing rushed. The breeze moves through again, brushing lightly against the crops. The leaves respond with a soft, whispering sound, a quiet conversation between the plants in the air. I step closer to one of the rows, noticing the small details. The soil, slightly uneven, yet carefully tended. The delicate stems standing upright, supported by the earth around them. The faint traces of moisture still present from the night. Everything feels alive, yet calm. There is no sense of struggle here, only a quiet cooperation between the people, the land, and the time of day. The sun rises a little higher. Its warmth begins to settle more clearly now, not strong, not overwhelming, but present. It touches the backs of those working, the tops of the plants, the wooden handles of the tools. It brings a gentle brightness that slowly replaces the cool tones of the early morning. Still, the pace does not change. There is no sudden increase in movement, no urgency to complete anything quickly. The work continues as it began, steady, patient, measured. A woman walks slowly along the edge of the field, carrying a small cloth bundle. She pauses near one of the workers, setting it down gently. Inside, perhaps a simple meal prepared earlier, something warm, something sustaining. There is no announcement, no interruption, just a quiet offering, placed where it is needed. The worker nods slightly, a small gesture of thanks before returning to the rhythm of the task. I move a little further, feeling the ground shift slightly beneath my feet. Small stones, patches of grass, the natural texture of the land, all of it reminding me that this place is shaped not by design, but by time. In the distance, more fields stretch outward, some already tended, others waiting, each holding the same quiet promise of the day's work, the same steady rhythm that carries from one moment to the next. A bird passes overhead, its wings moving slowly through the air. It does not rush, does not call loudly. It simply moves, crossing the open space before disappearing beyond the far edge of the fields. I stop again, allowing the moment to settle. The sounds, the movements, the light, all of it blending into something soft, something continuous. There is effort here, yes, but it is not heavy. It is not hurried. It exists as part of the day, as natural as the rising of the sun, as gentle as the movement of the air. The village, now fully awake behind me, continues its own quiet rhythm. But out here, in the fields, the work feels even more connected to the slow passage of time. Each movement, repeated. Each task, familiar. Each moment, unforced, and I remain within it, walking slowly along the edge of the fields where the day has begun, not with noise or urgency, but with quiet hands, steady breath, and the soft, patient rhythm of daily labor. The rhythm of the fields settles gently into place, as if it has always been there, waiting quietly for the day to begin. I walk slowly along the narrow edge where the village gives way to open land, and I can feel the change in the air, wider, softer, touched by sunlight that now rests more fully upon the earth. The morning has deepened, though it remains calm. The coolness of dawn lingers low to the ground, but above it, a gentle warmth begins to spread. It touches the tops of the crops, the wooden handles of tools, the shoulders of those already at work. Nothing feels sharp or sudden. The day unfolds slowly, just as everything here does. Before me, the fields stretch outward in quiet patterns. Rows of planted earth form soft lines across the land, some straight, others following the gentle curves of the terrain. The soil has been turned carefully, its surface dark and slightly uneven, holding traces of moisture from the night. It gives underfoot just slightly, soft but steady. A man stands near the beginning of one row, holding a simple wooden hoe. He lifts it slowly, guiding it down into the earth with a measured motion. The sound is soft, a dull, gentle contact with the soil. He repeats the movement without pause, though never in a hurry. Each motion seems to follow the last as naturally as breathing. Not far from him, another figure moves along a line of young plants. She bends slightly, her hands working close to the ground, brushing away small weeds, adjusting the soil around the base of each stem. Her movements are careful, almost quiet enough to disappear into the stillness around her. There is no tension in the work, only rhythm. I continue walking, my steps slow, matching the pace of everything around me. The breeze passes lightly through the fields, carrying with it the faint scent of earth and growing things. It moves through the leaves, creating a soft, steady whisper that blends with the quiet sounds of labor. Further out, I notice a pair of oxen moving steadily across a wider section of land. Their bodies are large, grounded, their steps slow and deliberate. They pull a wooden plow behind them, guided by a man who walks just beside, one hand resting lightly against the frame. The plow moves through the soil, turning it gently. The earth parts in narrow lines, folding over itself in soft layers. There is no force in it, only a steady pressure, repeated again and again. The man guiding it does not rush. He walks at the pace of the animals, his steps measured, his attention quiet and focused. Each line of turned soil stretches behind them, marking the slow progress of the morning. I pause for a moment, watching the movement. There is something calming in its repetition. The same motion, the same sound, carried out again and again without change. Nearby, a wooden cart rests at the edge of the field. It is simple in its form, its wheels slightly worn, its sides holding a few tools and small bundles. Nothing about it draws attention, yet it feels essential. A quiet part of the work that supports everything else. A young boy walks slowly toward it, carrying a small basket. He sets it down carefully, adjusting its position before stepping back. His movements are unhurried, as though he has learned already that there is no need to rush through these tasks. The sun rises a little higher, and with it, the light becomes more present. It spreads across the fields in a soft, even glow, touching everything without contrast. The shadows shorten slightly, though they remain gentle, never harsh. The warmth grows, but it does not press or weigh. It simply rests. I walk between two rows now, careful with each step. The plants here are small, their leaves delicate, reaching quietly upward. Tiny droplets of moisture still cling to them, catching the light in soft reflections before slowly fading into the air. A woman passes by me, carrying a cloth bundle held close to her side. She walks toward a group further ahead, where a few workers have paused briefly. She kneels, setting the bundle down, unfolding it slowly. Inside, simple food. Bread, perhaps, or something warm carried from the fire. There is no gathering, no break in the flow of the morning. Each person takes what they need quietly, without leaving their place for long. The work continues, even as these small moments of care move through it. The sounds remain soft, the low rustle of movement, the quiet shifting of tools, the gentle breath of the wind. Nothing rises above the rest. Everything belongs. I move toward the far edge of the field where the land dips slightly. From here I can see more of the surrounding area, fields stretching further, separated by low fences and narrow paths. Some are already active, others still waiting, their surfaces untouched, holding onto the last traces of morning stillness. There is no urgency to reach them. Each field will be tended in time. Each task will be completed when it is ready. I stand there for a moment, letting the quiet settle again around me. The village behind continues its own rhythm, faint now, distant, but still present. The fields hold their own space, wider, slower, shaped by repetition and care. A bird lands briefly on a wooden post nearby, resting for a moment before lifting again into the air. Its movement is smooth, unhurried, as if it too follows the pace of the land. I take a slow breath. The air is warmer now, but still gentle, still calm. The work continues without pause, without change in rhythm. Hands move, tools rise and fall, soil turns, plants are tended. Each action small, each one part of something larger, though it never feels overwhelming. Time does not press forward here. It simply moves. And I continue to walk slowly along the edge of the fields, where the day unfolds in quiet motion, and the steady, patient labor of the village carries on without noise, without strain, and without the need for anything more than what already is. The rhythm of the fields remains behind me now, steady and unbroken as I turn once more toward the village. The path feels familiar beneath my feet, the earth slightly warmer than before, softened by the rising sun. The air has changed gently, still calm, still quiet, yet carrying new scents that drift slowly outward from the cottages. As I walk closer, I begin to notice it more clearly. A soft warmth in the air, not just from the sun, but from within the homes themselves. The fires that were lit earlier have settled into a steady glow, no longer fragile, no longer just beginning. They now hold a quiet strength, spreading warmth through the small spaces of each cottage. Thin streams of smoke continue to rise from the chimneys, slower now, more constant, and with them, the faint, comforting scent of food. It reaches me softly at first, almost indistinct. Then, as I move closer, it becomes clearer. The smell of grain warming near the fire, of simple dough beginning to bake, of something steady and nourishing taking shape. I slow my steps. There is no need to hurry. Near one of the cottages, the door stands slightly open. From inside, I can see the soft glow of the hearth, its light flickering gently against the stone and wood. The fire is no longer being built, it simply burns, steady, quiet, patient. A woman moves slowly within the space, her hands working with calm precision. Before her, a wooden table. On it, a small mound of flour, pale and soft, resting in a simple bowl. She presses her hands into it gently, adding water in small amounts, bringing the mixture together. Her movements are slow and practiced, pressing, folding, turning. There is no rush in the way she works. Each motion flows into the next. The dough begins to form under her hands, soft at first, then gradually holding together. She presses it against the surface of the table, then folds it back, repeating the motion again and again in a quiet rhythm. The sound is soft, a gentle contact of dough against wood, a slow, steady pattern. Nearby, another figure tends to a pot hanging just above the fire. The contents move slowly as they are stirred, releasing a faint, warm scent into the air. It is simple food, prepared with care, meant to nourish rather than impress. Outside, I pause for a moment, listening. There are more sounds now, but none that disturb the calm. The low crackle of firewood, the soft movement of hands at work, the occasional creak of wood as doors open and close, each one gentle, each one part of the morning's quiet progression. I continue walking, passing another cottage where a small wooden board has been set just outside the doorway. Upon it rests a piece of dough, shaped carefully, its surface smooth and slightly dusted with flour. A cloth covers it loosely, protecting it, allowing it to rest. Time is part of the process here. Nothing is forced. The dough will rise as it is meant to, slowly, guided by warmth and patience. A child stands nearby, watching quietly. Their gaze follows the movements of the hands inside, observing without interruption. There is a stillness in the way they stand, a quiet understanding that this moment does not need to be hurried. From further down the path, I notice a larger structure, a communal oven built from stone, its surface worn smooth from years of use. A faint glow comes from within, and a deeper warmth can be felt even from a distance. A few villagers gather near it, not crowded, not busy, but present. One by one, they bring small loaves shaped earlier in their homes. Each is placed carefully onto a wooden paddle, then guided gently into the oven's warmth. The movement is steady, practiced, carried out with care. There is no conversation beyond a few quiet words, no urgency. Each loaf is given its place, each one allowed its time. I step closer, feeling the warmth of the oven against the coolness that still lingers in the air. It is a gentle warmth, not overwhelming, but steady, wrapping softly around the space. The scent here is richer. Baking bread, warm grain, a faint hint of smoke. It fills the air without being heavy, creating a quiet sense of comfort that seems to settle into everything it touches. A man stands beside the oven, watching carefully. He adjusts the position of the loaves with a long wooden tool, ensuring they are spaced just right. His movements are calm, deliberate, guided by experience rather than urgency. Time passes slowly here. The bread does not bake quickly. It warms gradually, the heat working its way through the dough, transforming it without haste. I step back slightly, allowing the moment to settle. Around me, the village continues its gentle rhythm. Some still tend to the fires within their homes, others prepare simple meals, others carry water or wood. Each task moves at its own pace, yet all seem to align in a quiet harmony. The sun rises a little higher, its light now reaching fully into the spaces between the cottages. It reflects softly off the surfaces of wood and stone, adding a gentle brightness to the scene. Still, nothing feels rushed. Nothing feels loud. The preparation of food continues, not as a task to be completed quickly, but as a natural part of the day's unfolding. A loaf is removed from the oven, its surface golden, slightly firm, releasing a soft warmth into the air. It is placed gently onto a wooden surface to cool. No one rushes to cut it. It is allowed to rest, just as it was allowed to rise. Everything here follows the same quiet pattern. Prepare, wait, tend, allow. I remain nearby, watching as more loaves are placed, as more meals are quietly prepared. The air is filled with warmth now, not just from the fires, but from the steady presence of these simple, repeated actions. And as I stand within it, the village feels complete in this moment. Not busy, not hurried, but alive in the soft, patient rhythm of preparing food, where each movement is gentle, each task unforced, and the warmth of the morning settles slowly into everything it touches. The warmth of the ovens lingers softly in the air as I move further along the narrow paths of the village. The scent of freshly baked bread fades gradually behind me, though it never fully disappears. It seems to settle into the wood of the houses, into the fabric of the morning itself, becoming part of the quiet life unfolding here. The village is now fully awake, yet even in its waking, there is no rush, no sharp rise in sound. The rhythm remains gentle, steady, carried by small movements and quiet exchanges. I walk slowly, allowing myself to notice the details that might otherwise pass unnoticed. A man stands near a low wooden fence, adjusting a simple latch. His hands move carefully, testing the strength of the wood, pressing it slightly to ensure it holds. Nearby, another villager pauses for a moment. They exchange a few quiet words, their voices low, almost blending into the air. There is no need for long conversation. A few words are enough. The moment passes, and each returns to their task. Further along, I see two women standing just outside a doorway. Between them, a small basket rests on the ground. One reaches into it, lifting a piece of cloth, examining it briefly before handing it to the other. Their movements are slow, thoughtful. They speak softly, their voices rising and falling in a calm, familiar rhythm. There is no urgency in their exchange, only a quiet understanding. I continue walking, feeling the soft earth beneath my feet, noticing how the paths curve naturally between the cottages. There is no strict pattern here, only the gentle shaping of space over time, guided by repeated use, by habit, by the quiet decisions of many days. A child moves past me, carrying something small in their hands, perhaps a piece of bread, still warm. They walk carefully, watching their steps, then pause as they reach another doorway. A figure inside leans slightly forward, accepting the offering with a soft nod. No words are needed. The exchange is simple and complete. Near the center of the village, the well now sees more activity. One by one, villagers approach, each carrying a bucket or a container. The rope moves steadily. The wood creaks softly. The water below responds with a faint echo. There is a natural order to it. No one pushes forward. Each person waits quietly, stepping forward when it is their turn. A few soft words pass between them, but even here, the sound never rises above a gentle murmur. I pause nearby, watching as the bucket is lowered once more. The rope unwinds slowly, the motion smooth and familiar. When it is drawn back up, the water catches the light, small reflections dancing briefly before settling again. A woman lifts her bucket carefully, balancing it with practiced ease. She turns, walking back along the path, her steps steady, unhurried. A man passes her carrying a bundle of wood. They exchange a brief glance, a small nod, a quiet acknowledgement of presence. It is not a greeting that demands attention. It is simply a recognition that they share this space, this moment. I move further along, where a small open area forms between a few cottages. Here, a group has gathered, though not in any formal way. Some sit on low wooden benches, others stand nearby, holding simple objects, tools, baskets, pieces of cloth. They speak in low voices, their conversation flowing gently, without urgency or strong emotion. There's a calmness in the way they interact, as though each word has time to settle before the next is spoken. A faint sound of laughter appears for a moment, soft, short. It fades just as gently as it came, leaving the air unchanged, still peaceful. I sit for a moment on the edge of a wooden bench, allowing the quiet life around me to continue without interruption. The wood beneath me is warm now, touched by the sun. It holds a steady presence, worn smooth by years of use. Across from me, an older villager works slowly with a piece of rope, tying a simple knot. Their hands move with care, each motion deliberate, practiced over time. There is no hesitation, no wasted movement. Nearby, another figure mends a piece of clothing, guiding a needle through fabric with steady precision. The thread moves in and out, creating a quiet rhythm of its own. These are small tasks, simple tasks, yet they carry a quiet importance woven into the daily life of the village. The sun continues its slow rise, casting a gentle light across the open space. Shadows shift slightly, stretching and softening as the angle of the light changes. The warmth grows, though it remains comfortable, never overwhelming. I stand again, continuing my slow walk. A door opens, and a man steps out, wiping his hands lightly on a cloth. He pauses, looking out across the village, taking in the movement, the quiet activity. For a moment, he does nothing more than stand there, breathing in the air, allowing the day to settle around him. Then, without urgency, he steps forward and joins the path. Further along, I notice a small exchange taking place. A woman hands a piece of bread to another, who accepts it with both hands. There's a brief pause, a shared moment of stillness before they part again. No transaction, no counting, just giving and receiving. The village moves like this, through small interactions, quiet connections, simple gestures that require little, yet carry meaning. There's no sense of isolation here. Each person exists within the presence of others, yet without crowding, without noise. Space is shared, but never forced. I walk toward the edge of the village once more, where the paths begin to thin and the open land waits beyond. Behind me, the soft sounds of voices, movement, and daily life continue, blending into a steady background that feels both present and distant. I pause, turning slightly, taking in the view, the cottages, the paths, the people moving slowly through their tasks, through their interactions. Everything feels connected, not through urgency or demand, but through quiet presence. And as I stand there, the village continues to breathe softly around me, not in loud moments or sudden changes, but in small exchanges, gentle voices, and the calm, steady rhythm of life shared together. The light of the day begins to soften almost without notice, as though the sun itself is quietly stepping back, allowing the village to settle once more. I find myself walking slowly along the familiar paths again, though everything now feels slightly different, gentler, quieter, touched by the calm of the coming evening. The warmth of the afternoon lingers in the wood of the cottages, in the earth beneath my feet, in the air that now moves more slowly. The fields beyond the village grow still, their work gradually coming to an end. Figures who once moved in steady rhythm now return along the paths, their steps unhurried, their tools carried loosely in their hands. There is no sudden stopping, only a gradual easing. a soft release of the day. I walk beside them for a time, noticing the quiet shift in energy. Shoulders relax, movements slow even further, and the steady rhythm of labor fades into something softer, something more restful. As we reach the first cottages, doors open gently, one by one. Warm light begins to glow from within, not bright, not sharp, but soft and golden, shaped by the steady flame of small fires and simple candles. It spills quietly through doorways and narrow windows, resting lightly on the ground just outside, as if inviting the evening to come closer. The scent of food returns to the air. Richer now, warmer. Simple meals prepared slowly over the fire. Something steady, something familiar. It drifts between the cottages, blending with the faint trace of smoke and the cooling earth. I slow my steps again, allowing the moment to unfold around me. Near one doorway, a small group sits together. A wooden bowl is passed from one to another, each taking a portion without hurry. Their voices are low, steady, never rising beyond a gentle tone. The conversation flows quietly, without urgency, without need to fill the silence. The silence itself remains welcome. Further along, I notice a woman standing just outside her home, shaking a cloth gently in the evening air. The movement is soft, the fabric catching the last light of the sun before it fades completely. She folds it slowly, then steps inside, closing the door with care. A child walks along the path, guided gently by an older figure. Their steps are slower now, their energy softened by the passing of the day. They do not run, do not rush, only walk side by side toward the warmth waiting inside. I continue toward the center of the village. The well stands quiet again, its rope still, its surface undisturbed. The steady flow of the day is past, and now it rests, just as everything else begins to do. Above, the sky shifts in color. Soft tones of gold and pale orange fade gradually into deeper shades of blue. The light dims slowly, without sudden change, allowing the eyes to adjust, allowing the village to settle into the evening at its own pace. A faint breeze moves through, cooler now. It brushes against the walls of the cottages, slips gently through open doorways, and carries with it the last warmth of the day. It feels calm, familiar, like the final breath before rest. One by one, small lights appear, candles placed near windows, fires glowing softly within, each one adding a quiet point of warmth against the growing darkness. I walk past a cottage where the door remains slightly open. Inside, I can see figures gathered near the hearth. The fire casts a gentle light across their faces, moving slowly, creating soft shadows that shift with each flicker of flame. No one moves quickly. Hands rest. Voices remain low. There is a sense that nothing more is required of the day. The work has been done, the tasks completed. What remains is only this: quiet presence, shared warmth, and the gentle passing of time. I step away, continuing along the path as it leads toward the outer edge of the village. Behind me, the soft sounds of evening settle into a steady, comforting background. The distant crackle of firewood, the quiet murmur of voices, the occasional creak of wood as doors are closed for the night. None of it disturbs the calm. All of it belongs. The last light of the sun fades completely, leaving the sky in deeper shades of blue. A few early stars begin to appear, faint at first, then clearer as the darkness settles. The village grows quieter, not empty, not silent, but resting. The movements slow even further, then gently come to stillness. Doors close, lights dim slightly, voices fade into soft whispers, then into quiet. I pause near the edge once more, turning to look back. The cottages stand close together, their shapes now softened by the low light. Small glows remain within them, steady and warm, like quiet breaths held in the dark. There's a deep sense of calm here. Nothing unfinished, nothing pressing. Only the gentle completion of a day that unfolded slowly, naturally, without force. The air cools further, wrapping the village in a soft stillness. The ground beneath my feet holds the last traces of warmth, though even that begins to fade, settling into the calm of the night. I take a slow breath. The scent of wood smoke lingers, faint but comforting. The sky above stretches wide and quiet, holding its silence without effort. And as I stand there, the village rests, not in absence but in peace, where each small light, each closed door, and each quiet breath becomes part of the soft, steady rhythm of nightfall. The stillness deepens, though it never feels empty. It settles gently over the village, like a soft layer of quiet that rests upon every roof, every path, every small space between the cottages. I remain near the edge, allowing my eyes to adjust fully to the dim light, noticing how the world shifts when movement fades and only presence remains. The last traces of evening activity dissolve slowly. A door closes somewhere in the distance, the sound softened by the cool night air. It is not abrupt, it is careful, the kind of closing that respects the silence that follows. After that, nothing replaces it. The quiet returns, steady and complete. A faint glow still lingers in a few windows, not bright, not drawing attention, just enough to suggest that inside, someone remains awake for a little while longer. Perhaps sitting near the fire, perhaps finishing a simple task, or simply resting in the warmth before sleep. I begin to walk again, my steps even slower now. The ground beneath me feels different at night, cooler, firmer. The softness of the day has settled into a calm stillness, as if the earth itself has come to rest. Each step makes almost no sound, and I find myself moving as quietly as the village around me. Above, more stars begin to appear. They arrive gradually, one by one, filling the sky without urgency. There is no rush in their presence, only a slow revealing. The deeper the darkness becomes, the clearer they are. Small points of light resting gently above the village. The air carries a faint chill now, not uncomfortable, just enough to be noticed. It moves lightly across the skin, brushing past in slow, almost imperceptible waves. It carries with it the lingering scent of wood smoke, now softer, more distant than before. I pass by the well again. It stands in complete stillness, its rope hanging straight, unmoving. The wooden frame casts a faint shadow in the dim light, its shape barely defined. The surface of the water below reflects a small portion of the sky, holding the quiet glow of a few distant stars. No one comes here now. Its purpose rests until morning. Further along, I notice a small stack of firewood beside a cottage wall. The pieces are arranged neatly, each one placed with care earlier in the day. Now they remain untouched, waiting for the next morning's fire. Even these simple objects seem to belong to the rhythm of rest, holding their place without need for attention. A soft sound reaches me, barely more than a whisper. The distant rustle of leaves. Perhaps from a tree just beyond the village, its branches moving slightly in the night breeze. The sound is gentle, repeating in slow intervals, never growing louder, never breaking the calm. I pause for a moment, listening. There is something steady in this quiet, something that does not ask to be filled. It allows space, allows stillness to exist without interruption. I continue walking, moving between the cottages where the paths narrow slightly. The walls on either side hold the warmth of the day, though it fades slowly now. If I reach out, I can almost feel it lingering in the wood, a quiet memory of sunlight that has not yet fully disappeared. A faint flicker appears in one window. Inside, a candle moves slightly, its flame responding to the smallest shift in air. It casts soft shadows that rise and fall along the wall, slow and steady. The movement is calm, almost hypnotic, like a quiet breath repeating over time. Then, gently, the light dims. The candle is lowered or perhaps shielded, and the window returns to darkness. The village grows quieter still, not because something has changed, but because everything has settled more deeply into rest. The sounds that remain are softer now, more spaced apart, like distant echoes that slowly fade into stillness. I reach the far edge once more, where the open land begins. The fields are no longer visible in detail. Their shapes have blended into the darkness, forming a wide, quiet presence beyond the last row of cottages. There is no movement there now, no tools, no footsteps. Only the calm outline of land waiting beneath the night sky. The breeze moves again. It carries across the open space, brushing lightly against the edges of the village. It moves through small gaps between buildings, around corners, over rooftops. It does not rush, it drifts, slow and continuous. I stand still, allowing it to pass. The stars above feel clearer now, more numerous. They stretch across the sky in quiet patterns, their light steady and unchanged. There's a sense of distance in them, yet also a quiet closeness, as if they simply exist without needing to be understood. Time feels different here, not measured, not counted. It moves in a way that is almost unnoticeable, like the gradual cooling of the air or the slow fading of warmth from the ground. There is no urgency within it, no sense of something needing to happen next. I begin to walk again, though even this feels optional. Nothing requires movement now, nothing asks for attention. The village rests completely. A final door closes somewhere behind me, very softly, and after that, nothing more. The silence that follows is deeper, but not empty. It holds everything that has happened during the day, the footsteps, the voices, the work, the warmth of the fires. All of it remains, not as sound, but as presence. I slow my steps further until I come to a gentle stop. There is no reason to go further, no reason to return. Only this moment, calm, steady, complete. The air cools just a little more. The ground settles. The lights within the cottages have almost all faded now, leaving only darkness and the faint outline of shapes under the sky. And as I stand within it, the village seems to breathe slowly in its sleep, not in movement, not in sound, but in the quiet rhythm of rest, where nothing is needed, nothing is missing, and the night continues gently, carrying everything into stillness.